Welcome to the second part of shaping a custom guard. Been sitting on this video for over a year now, so it'd be better late than never to actually get it out. But yeah, so here we go. So prior to starting the filming of this video, we lost the first sort of like 15 minutes of the video. All I was doing was just gave it a quick wheel just to take the lumps and bumps out of the shaping part of the which was in the first part of the video. So now I'm just in the process of fitting it over the guard and removing just sort of massaging some of the areas around that just aren't right. You can see it's quite still out of form. There's a lot of space off to the side there. Although I'm only holding it on, you can see that there's still a fair chunk of space to the side of the panel fitting the guard. The back end here is a little bit, it's got a radius compared to the original car. So just using the hammer where I can't get into with the wheel, you'll see later on down the track. You can notice though I do have the panel clear coat on, you can still see a little bit of gap on the top edge there, and you can sort of see the panel sort of flared out a little bit. If you take note of that, I'll talk about it later on when I'm speaking to my partner. Just a little bit of a shape change that we're going for. This car obviously is, the outer body shell is already finished at the moment, but I just thought it would be good to revisit and get this second part of the video out. And yeah, like we're gonna follow up on the interior sort of build of the inner structures and things like that on this car as much as we can. But I will be heavily following the next build, which is the Rolls-Royce. So if you want to check that other video out, I'll speak about the design. This car was radically changed in its design, which I do go over a little bit in the rear end changes. Obviously this is very early on in the stage, but it turned out to be radically changed from an original car. You can see all the shape that's in there when it comes close to an original vehicle. They're so heavily different. So you can see I've just highlighted a bit of a low spot, and we're going to go and adjust that now. Just feeling for the low spot, just to make sure I've located it on the underside of the panel, and then just lightly tapping to just put a little bit of elastic stretch into it. You can wheel up a low spot. I just find it a little bit easier, particularly with something like this on such a high radius, to just bump it up with the hammer first. I use quite low ground anvils when I do any sort of shaping like this, because I cross wheel panels instead of going the long ways. So it's just, yeah, it's easier just to get into just a couple of bumps with the blocking hammer, and then you can just massage it back out with the wheel. I just find it's a lot easier than trying to do the staggered, shorter, medium, high, long passes to develop to raise a low area. And once again, I always prefer to do things, I'd rather get something in 1,000 hits compared to just a couple. Just lets you sort of sneak up onto the panel, not go too far. It's just more of I always try, I guess my method of shaping is always trying to finesse something into shape instead of forcing it. So I always just go quite gentle. You can see how small the hits are. I'm just letting the weight of the hammer do the stretching. Making sure you always clean your panels, give your wheel a wipe down before you go in, just so you're not pushing any sort of contaminants into the material, and also it helps with marking. Particularly on aluminium, you want to make sure that you've got a clean wheel, clean panel. And just rolling up over the bumps, just slightly adjusting pressure just to make sure that it's doing the right thing, it's ironing it out sort of fast enough, but then also too that you're not putting heaps of stretch into the panel. You can see I'm either cross wheeling or wheeling with the long radius. So basically my thoughts on wheeling a panel is that 99% of the time you want to always work to the long radius. So for this particular panel, it's a 36-inch radius that I'm using for the lower wheel. If you were to go the other way across the panel, say you're going to have a lot higher crown, say maybe an 8-inch, particularly up the front there, and it's got such a small contact area that if I was going long ways through the panel, that would just be curling the panel over the top of the anvil. So I always work to the long radius. Working with a long radius, you always have the most contact area possible on the material, and that's going to give you a better surface finish. And this is just constant checking, wheeling, checking, feeling the panel, using the light. It's quite handy having the sweeps on the wall because they always work to show, like, you can see if they have a bit of a wobble in them, being at their true radiuses, it always helps.
There's someone to save me, I can't find myself. I'm totally lost.
See, I spent a lot of time just working that one area. You can see I keep on going back to it. it was a little flat, so it took a little bit more stretch than I wanted, and it's also right off the very peak of the guard, so it just needed a little bit more shape in there to accelerate down the back. You can see it's quite like the back of the guard has that sort of sharp radius, but then it's got that longer, straighter sort of sweep, and then accelerates as it starts to get to the center of the panel. So it's a bit of a crossover point between the acceleration of the center of the guard going into that flatter sort of sweep. So it just takes a bit. Like I said before, I'd rather sort of sneak up on it, so I'm not using heaps of pressure. And one of the things that does is it always keeps the surface finish nice. You don't want to go in too harsh where it's going to push and pull on your panel and start to sort of cause drama for you. In this next part of the video coming up, my partner asks me a few questions. So I'm not going to interject too much with the voiceover. I'm just going to sort of let that organic conversation flow, and just sort of I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on the back and forth sort of talk, and just leave it a little bit more natural. To try and make it do all those shapes.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, I guess you're putting your mind through that constant problem solving
always
mindset, but then as you progress, you become better at just thinking like that without thinking, like it's second nature.
Yeah, you're problem solving without having to think about the problem sometimes.
Yeah, and then I feel like through that process, you're developing your own way and style of doing things, but you're becoming in flow with the art.
Yeah.
Hey, like with the craft, yeah, you're becoming in flow, so yeah, I guess it's easier to step into that mindset of how you're going to create something.
Yeah, and you feel the rhythm of the machine as well. Like, you sort of become part of them. You can sort of become part of the machine.
Yeah.
And like you sort of learn to let the machine do its job.
Yeah.
Without trying to wrestle it. And,
Yeah.
Especially like this. This is like a real common one. People will try and fight the wheel. Instead of just letting it do what it's supposed to do. Like they're trying to put up too much tension and all that sort of stuff. And it's not just letting the machine be and just do what it's supposed to do. Like
what it's designed
let it
for,
do what it's designed to do.
Yeah.
It's trying to stretch its capabilities and stuff instead of just letting it just do what it wants to do. And also too, the metal tells you It tells you where it wants to go and what it wants to do.
Yeah.
You don't have to fight it.
Yeah, that's what I
help
like
it.
about this.
You've got to help it. You've
Is
got
this
to
the
caress
English
it into,
wheel?
This is the English wheel,
Yeah. That's what I like about this is that you can tell you're doing different sorts of, I don't know, technical movements. And it's just kind of showing you what needs to be done. So you're just following through with that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very gentle machine as well. You know, like it can do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And people usually do damage with it because they don't treat it like it's a gentle machine. They treat it like it's a, you know, something that they need to force and fight and make it go real hard and fast. And you know, you just let it do what it's going to do, and it will do the job. It will do the job faster because you're not fighting it.
Yeah. It's developing that patience too with the tools that you're using, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just finesse. It's all about just finessing it into position.
So then, like right now, what technique are you using on this piece?
Well, at the moment, I'm just in the final sort of washover stage. I'm just trying to smooth out any last sort of lumps and bumps. I'm not really creating much shape or anything anymore. It's all just finalising the shape. I'm just cross wheeling over the areas just to sort of smooth it up. I'm looking at the light, just letting the light sort of show me where I need to work. You can see I'm putting it in one way, do some movements, put it back in the other. Using the light to just show up any sort of imperfections. Just here.
See how you're holding it as you are under knee? Is that any sort of technical component to it, or is it? It's just comfortable?
I'm only just on the finger. I'm just on my fingertips.
I can see you don't have your full hand placement on the.
I'm not really putting much
piece,
pressure on it. Like I said, you don't have to wrestle it. You can. I'm just because I only on fingertips here because all the weight is here. So it's, you know, like up here, I might have to spread my load a little bit more. But when you're just up, you know, when you're under the panel where it's sort of fairly well balanced, you don't need to sort of like, you know, wrestle it through or anything like that. It's nice and comfortable. Like I'm just here. I can just, you know, just roll through the machine, not have to fight it. You know, you just relaxing, just going through the machine, just going through the process.
Yeah, and you can tell that that's a comfortable position.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
I could do this all day.
Approaching that with finesse, right?
Yeah. You know, because also too, like if you look at it's quite a weird shape and a twist and stuff. If I was doing this, if I was holding it out here, that's very difficult to make it. You know, I'm in nice and close to the job.
just only just gripping it with just 2 fingers, just sort of just letting it just do its job. Because also too, you want to be really light with your hands, because if you watch it roll through the machine, it's twisting as it goes because of the weird shape. If you look at the shape of the panel,
And let me just try and get over this.
if you look at the shape of the panel, it has quite a sharp peak, and it's tighter through its radius here than what it is over here. So it has a bit of a funny twist in it. So if you got to go light on your fingers so you can let the panel go through the machine however it wants to do it. If you're holding onto it too tightly, you're going to fight against it, and you're going to put marks and stuff in the top of your panel. So the grip is a extremely important part. Sorry, of your wheeling. You want to just see how it's twisting as I'm rolling it through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like doing those little micro movements
Yeah, that's why you've got to be
as you're
gentle
just
with your
sliding it
hands.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to be gentle with your hands, otherwise you're going to cause more damage than what you're doing good.
I guess it's easy to see how people would get impatient with it
Oh.
to try and do it quite fast, hey?
Yeah. So what I'm doing now,
Yeah, I was just about to ask.
as I'm, because this radius on the outside is a little bit sharper as it rolls around the top of the edge of the
Which
edge of the
bit?
guard.
Which
so
is that?
That's the outside of
You're
the
going to
guard.
have to show me that one.
This is the outside of the fender, so it needs to roll around a little bit more as it goes down to the sort of the vertical face. So what I'm doing now, I'm going through, and as I'm coming down through the end, I'm just tweaking my fingers against the panel just to put a little bit of pressure on it, just to help form it over that last little rollover. Yeah, just a little bit, not too much, because if you go too much, you will start. Once again, you'll put marks all through the edge of your panel. This edge isn't super essential right now, because if it has a few little imperfections or lumps and bumps in it, because this is where the new panel is going to be joining to, which I'll be making next. But I just want to still sort of help pull it into its form a little bit. See, a little bit of it fixed up just there. Yeah, you can sort of see how I went up to here. You can see that edge is still flaring out a little bit, but this bit here is just rolled. You can see right there is the sort of pinch point where I got up to. So just continue pulling that over slightly.
And even with these movements, would you say there's really no time limit on this? It's just more of a process of perfecting the desired look on that, right?
Yeah, there's no, you really can't rush this stuff.
Yeah.
It's if you want to do nice quality panels, you're not rushing to the finish line. All those little bits that you rush while making something will result in more marks that you're gonna have to try and fix. You're gonna try and fix later. I don't know if it's right or not, but my process is to always try and keep it looking as nice and in the just as nice as possible. Less clean up work afterwards. I don't want to spend hours and hours and hours trying to repair damage that was made because I rushed in fabrication. You know, you want to get your panel basically as nice as you possibly can be, almost like it's a finished piece before you are ready to move on to the next one or weld it together.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Just give it a gentle hammer over this rings here. It's just about done.
Yep. So what are you doing here?
So I'm just gonna, it's already fairly tidy, but I just want to give it a light little hammer. I can't fit the wheel through this radius, it's too tight. It's a 1 inch radius. So I'm just got a 1 inch lower die, flat upper die. And I'm just going to just give it a light, gentle, light, gentle hammer, trying to just clean up this shape. You can sort of see, it's a little bit tricky, but this point, I'll explain it. I'll explain it soon. I'll just give it a little hammer now, and I'll explain what I've done with the panel, what difference I made from the factory one. I just saw that I've got a little tiny bit I've just got to adjust here on the wheel, but I'll just give this a light hammer and then. center of this peak sort of doesn't really line up with any, like it's kind of pointing in the wrong direction. It sort of like heads off up over this way somewhere. My plan was to sort of pick the sort of main sort of highlight of this radius here and the main highlight of this radius here and V them down through one line through here, so the actual center of the radius ends up cutting sort of through this line. I just sort of might give it a little bit more of a nicer sort of shape. So then I place this into position a little bit. So I'll put this on and I'll show you now what I've come up with. You can see now, you probably see it from the earlier part of the video, but this wasn't as nice here. It was sort of flared out a little bit, and you could see as I was giving that little pull down was enough to flare that edge over. It'll help us for our next bit. Alright, so yeah, now you can see the center of my radius. I moved it over a little bit because I felt like that was pointing the wrong direction. So the center of the radius is now here. That line comes up and you'll see in the light here, one veers off this way, one veers off this way. So they're chasing those two main radiuses. Just sort of give it a little bit cleaner look. Now that this piece is basically done, I would say it's maybe just only got a few more minutes left in it. Really, I can leave it there now, and we can move on to designing the next piece. What I've done so far, since this is our first video, you can come around and you can see the side of the car, the original. So this section of the quad is basically the same. We haven't really changed anything here. It's all kept majority of that shape, same as the bead. Although you'll see on the other side the bead has tapered down into a bit more of a spear. We corrected what I feel corrected a lot of the shape through here as well. So we've obviously turned this into a big massive radius that's going to flow up onto the new guard. You can see here it's very flat. And then if you look around the back angle here, I've taken the guard, which starts out about here, and I've turned it into a big radius. I've had a small flat section, and then curled it back in here, so you can see how big. We've sort of just exaggerated all the shape a lot. So that's where we're up to so far, and now we're going to make the next piece.
So that's the end of the video, guys. Thanks for following along. Sorry it took so long to get it out, but yeah, there it is. Like, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you thought, and yeah, see you on the next one. Cheers.